three siblings discover a powerful technology that could decide the fate of their land. In 2029, the old nations were destroyed after a global blackout called Black December. Microstates known as tribes were then created, each having their own beliefs and cultures. Liv and her family lived in harmony with nature in a tribe called Origines. They believed they were safe in the forests, but they were wrong. The Origines were caught in the middle of the other tribes fighting for dominance in Europa. Liv got separated from her family, so she vows to find them no matter what. In 2074, Liv and her brothers, Keanu and Elia, hunt in the forest. Keanu warns their younger brother about the raiders who cut off limbs during initiation. The brothers end up playfully wrestling until Liv hears an explosion. She prepares her crossbow while her brothers take cover, searching for enemies. A jet speeds past them, confusing them as they've never seen one before. Elia backs away in fear, so Keanu asks if he knows what it is. Before he can answer, the jet zips between them and disappears into the forest. Keanu wants to follow it, but his sister insists that it's too dangerous. Elia believes that since planes haven't been around, the vehicle is from the New World. Still, Liv urges them to leave, so her brothers follow her. The siblings soon return to their tribe and meet with their father Jakob and their uncle Mark. Jakob hugs Elia, proud that he's helped capture a wolf for his initiation. Liv brings up the jet they saw, and Keanu insists on investigating it. Jakob refuses, reminding them that Origines always avoid outsiders' business. In the Crow tribe, Lord Varvara walks into a room where High Lord Tox assures Captain Ivar that his warriors, known as Bozzies, will capture the escaped workers. However, Ivar is unsatisfied. Upon seeing her, Ivar mockingly wonders why she's interrupting their conversation. Varvara reports that one of her squad shot down an Atlantean hoverjet, which crashed into the southern forests, so she asks permission to recover it. The news excites Ivar, believing that Atlantean technology is the key to ruling Europa. He asks Tox for a strategy to recover the jet, but he stresses that since it crashed into the Crimson territory, going there might cause a political rift. Despite this, Ivar permits Varvara to seek the jet, promising to reward her if she succeeds. He even teases that she can be a High Lord if one position becomes vacant. Seeing this as a threat, Tox tries to dissuade Ivar, but the Capitan wonders what he should do to the High Lord, who let many workers escape. Varvara advises him to show no weakness since it's the Crow's way. With that, Varvara leaves while Ivar beats Tox as punishment. That evening, Keanu confronts his sister about investigating the jet. He complains that she's like their father and believes that his family doesn't understand him as their mother did. He continues that something finally happens around them and their father wants to ignore it. Keanu plans to investigate the jet nonetheless and even invites Elia to go with him to learn why the old world ended. Liv asks him not to make them argue further, and he relents as they focus on what the evening is about. Later, the tribe celebrates Elia's first successful hunt, thus officially welcoming him as a man. Liv recounts that the Origines have retreated into the security of the forest to live peacefully with nature. Elia is then branded with their mark to symbolize his responsibility to their people, nature, and all living beings. They vow to live free of technology since it brought the end of the old world. After the initiation, the party begins. During this, Keanu invites his girlfriend Alana to run away with him. He declares that he wants to be free and see the world, so he asks if she'll go with him. Meanwhile, Elia shares his theory that the jet came from space. He wonders if humans didn't cause the Black December, but Mark insists that they'll never find out. Because of this, Liv finally tells her father that she thinks they should investigate the jet to look for survivors. Jakob believes it's risky, as outsiders could threaten their tribe. He insists that he's leading their people according to her mother's principles, but Liv reminds him that amongst those principles is that all life is one. Thus, it should include an outsiders. The following day, Jakob finally decides to check out the jet. He leads his children, along with Mark, Alana, and Tarek, to the wreckage and notices bullet holes on one side. As the others discuss the aircraft, Elia finds a cube on the ground. Keanu wonders where the pilot is, so Mark suggests that the little Praha tribe took him. With that, Jakob puts Liv in charge of taking the others back to the tribe while he and Mark continue investigating. Keanu offers to join his father, but he refuses. As they leave, Elia puts the cube in his bag. On their way home, Keanu is pissed that their father continues to favor Liv because she reminds Jakob of their mother, while Keanu reminds Jakob of everything he hates about himself. During this, Elia quietly slips away and heads to an abandoned hall where he keeps gadgets from the old world that he's found. He adds the cube to his collection but suddenly hears coughing from behind. At camp, Liv learns that Keanu wants to leave, so she reminds him about savages who cut off Mark's arm to eat. She asserts that his place is here and they need him. In the hall, Elia cautiously approaches the wounded pilot from the aircraft, who laments that he lost the cube during the crash. The kid offers to bring him medicine, but the pilot asks him not to tell anyone he's there since many are searching for him. Meanwhile, Jakob and Mark head to the little Praha tribe but are surprised to find the flag of the Crimson Republic at their base. When they enter, however, the area is empty. Cautiously, they search the place until they find a courtyard full of dead bodies. During this, Elia returns to camp and packs medicine and supplies. He then goes home and hides the cube in a chest, having taken it from the hall. However, Liv catches him with the medical supplies and realizes that he has found the pilot. He takes his siblings to the hall, and Liv quickly orders her brothers to build a stretcher so they can take him back to camp. At the little Praha tribe, the men find a dying soldier who claims that the crows slaughtered his people in search of the Atlantean pilot. Soon, the siblings carry the pilot back to camp, unaware that a Bazi named Grieta has seen them. When they arrive, their people panic, refusing to help the pilot as it may get them into trouble. However, Liv insists, so their doctor, Louise, operates on the pilot. However, she soon reports that he's lost too much blood. Jakob and Mark arrive, so Liv and Keanu go to tell them what happened while Elia sneaks into the medical tent. He presents the cube to the pilot, and the man explains that it contains a message from his people about something dangerous coming from the east. The pilot insists that he needs to bring the cube to the ark where he came from. He warns that it must never fall into the wrong hands, and Elia promises to help. The kid then asks how the old world ended, and the pilot promises that he'll find out if he helps him. When Elia heads out, he sees Jakob announcing how the crows attacked the little Praha while looking for the pilot. Because of this, they decide to return the pilot to the wreckage, and Jakob orders his people to have their weapons ready just in case. As they prepare, Jakob orders Tarek to ask for help from Camp Arenberg. In their home, Jakob tells his children that what's done is done, so they just have to stick together. Suddenly, they hear the shots and a scream. Outside, everyone prepares for battle as the crows appear. Jakob declares that they're willing to give the pilot, so there's no need for bloodshed. The crows merely inhale a gas they're carrying before one throws Tarek's severed head onto their water. Jakob begs them not to attack, but an arrow is then shot at Luis's neck. With that, chaos erupts. Jakob shoots down enemies while Keanu and Liv fight. Elia gets cornered, but his siblings save him. As more people die, Elia heads to the medical tent and finds a pilot on the floor. He urges him to leave, but the pilot tells him that his people are lost. He asks Elia to let the cube lead him to the ark, otherwise more lives will perish. When Elia agrees, the pilot releases the cube, which floats and scans the young man's eye before dropping into his hands. A crow arrives, so Elia takes the cube and runs. Keanu and Mark find him, but as he sees the cube in his hand, his brother urges him to escape. With no choice, Elia runs. When Keanu turns, he sees a crow killing Alana, sending him into a rampage. He kills 2 crows before more men capture him. As Elia is chased down the forest, Grieta stabs Liv and throws her down. Jakob sees this before Varvara knocks him out. When he wakes up, Jakob is surrounded by the rest of his surviving people, including Keanu and Mark. Varvara demands to know where Elia took the artifact known as an Atlantean cube, but no one answers. Unsatisfied, she kills a prisoner despite Jakob's pleas. She then approaches Keanu and promises to spare his life if he tells her where Elia is. When he claims to know nothing, she moves to strike. So Jakob insists that they only found the wreckage, not the cube. However, Mark claims that he knows where the cube is. Varvara interrogates him, but he defiantly says that it's up his rear. Pissed, she mutilates him before killing him. She then turns back to Keanu, but only caresses his face before ordering her army to take the prisoners while Grieta and her Bosnians continue searching for the cube. By dawn, Elia continues running until he finds a ruined structure to rest in. Meanwhile, Liv awakens, having survived her wound. Meanwhile, the crows have the prisoners march across an abandoned city. During this, Jakob asks his son about Elia, so Keanu confirms that he escaped. However, when Keanu asks about Liv, Jakob doesn't share what he saw. At camp, Liv limps as she searches for her people, only to find everyone dead. She mourns until she hears someone arriving. Quickly, she grabs a crossbow and heads to the forest, but her wound slows her down. As she hides, she hears Grieta approaching, so Liv shoots her then pins her with a knife to her throat. She demands to know where her family is, so Grieta reveals that they were taken to Brutok but stresses that no one can infiltrate it. She then goads the younger woman to finish her off, off. But before Leave can, an army of Crimson soldiers surround them. Commander David Voss assures Leave that they won't hurt her, but Grietta demands the woman to kill her now. Suddenly, a corporal knocks Leave out. In the ruins, Elia tries to activate the cube, but it's broken. He heads to Little Praha and into a workshop where he attempts to fix the cube. He stops when he hears movement in another room. Pocketing the cube, Elia investigates the noise and discovers a man who quickly spots him. Holding him at gunpoint, the man recognizes him as a German. He then lowers his gun, apologizing for it, and asks if he's part of the Little Praha tribe. When Elia shakes his head, the man introduces himself as a scavenger named Moses. Hearing this, Elia asks if he can repair things and shows him the cube. Moses is astonished by the device, so Elia backs away. Moses insists that he can't repair it if he can't touch it. The young man hands the cube to Moses, who already knows that it's an Atlantean cube. Moses then asks Elia to fetch him his toolbox from the next room. Elia does as he's told, but when he checks, Moses is already driving away with the cube. A crow finds Elia, so he pins him and demands for the cube. Before the man can strike him, Moses shoots him and tells Elia to get in his truck as more crows arrive. Elia rushes into the vehicle, and they drive away, leaving the crows in the dust. Elsewhere, Leave wakes up and overhears David discussing how Grietta is being interrogated. She finds herself with an IV drip, and her stab wound has been stitched up. When she gets up, David informs her that she's in Camp Arenberg, an outpost of the Crimson Republic. He introduces her to Major Merck and Corporal Yeboah before asking her what happened. Leave reveals that the crows wanted the Atlantean pilot who crashed his jet nearby. This surprises the men, and David asks if the pilot had a cube. Since she never saw it, Leave says no, so they ask where the jet crashed. When Leave tells them, David orders to have the place scouted and thanks her for the information. She then asks for help to save her family and the survivors in Brutok. However, David notes that Brutok is an impenetrable fortress. They've been trying to infiltrate it for years but haven't. But this doesn't dissuade Leave. Understanding her desire, David promises to show her the map. If she changes her mind, she can stay with him until she's well. If not, he wishes her luck. Soon, Leave heads out, and Yeboah shows her the camp, which is the last outpost before Crow territory. They've been here for a year, and Leave recognizes how they protect tribes in exchange for supplies. Yeboah adds that tribes joined them to fight for a new Europa since they respect cultural identity. Since the outpost is closest to Crow territory, they provide intel to the capital. Leave calls the Crows butchers, but Yeboah recognizes their honor and integrity since the Crows always keep their word. Finally, he shows her the map to Brutok, which is the former Berlin. It's 4 to 5 days of journey through a war zone, and even if she makes it, it's surrounded by heavily guarded Crow territory. Yeboah warns that only workers and Crows can pass through. Meanwhile, as they drive through a road, Moses asks Elia why the Crows are after him. Elia doesn't answer and just mentions how he stole from him, but Moses stresses that he also saved him. Still, the kid tearfully yells at him, so Moses pulls over and comforts him. He returns the cube and apologizes for stealing it. He then offers to repair it, and they can split the money after selling it. Elia refuses, so Moses tells him to get off his truck. With that, Elia leaves and continues walking alone. Driving beside him, Moses hints that he shouldn't go north since the Crows are there. He shouldn't go west either since the Fee-Men are there, and the raiders are everywhere. Out of options, Elia finally agrees to sell the cube for profit, so Moses lets him back in. At Camp Arenberg, Leave asks David to let her talk to Grietta. Merck claims that Grietta won't speak, but Leave thinks it's because they're Crimsons, which she isn't. With that, David takes her to Grietta. He explains that Bozzies kill themselves before getting caught, so Leave actually helped them capture her alive. Grietta is a high-ranking Bozzie, so he wants Leave to ask her how to get past her territory's barricades. Once alone with a prisoner, Leave asks why the Crows killed everyone in Little Praha and the Origines for one man. Grietta clarifies that the man had the cube, which is a key to great power. Knowing why she came, Grietta tells her that her family is taken to Brutok to work in the factory that makes a substance called Voke. There, they'll die in 3 months due to the poisonous gases, and their bodies will be fed to the pigs. She taunts Leave that she can never reach Brutok alone, but Leave plans to have Grietta take her there. Grietta laughs, but Leave knows that since she's a high-ranking warrior, she's worth many workers. Realizing what she means, Grietta figures that Leave will set her free if she does. The warrior wonders why Leave would trust her, so the woman asserts that Grietta will give her word, and the Crows always keep their word. Soon, Keanu and the rest finally reach Brutok. Varvara orders her men to take Jakob to the Capitan since he's a tribe leader, so he advises his son to lay low and obey for now. Jakob hugs Keanu before he's pulled away. Keanu and the other prisoners are then taken to the factory, where they immediately find a decapitated body of a worker on the floor. Meanwhile, Liv tells David that if she sets Grieta free, she'll save her family. If they make it seem that they escaped together, Grieta might trust her and reveal how to get past the barricades, which Liv can share with the Crimson Army. David tells her to rest as they consider this plan. While at different corners of the land, the three siblings look at their marks as origines, wondering how to get back to each other.